The year is 1990. The place is Barbados. The business world is on the cusp of a digital revolution, but navigating it is pure trial and error. Welcome to episode one of our series, where we sit down with Belnando Weeks, the founder of Quality Performance Systems, better known today as QPS. We're looking back at how a vision for consistency shaped the local IT landscape. So, Belnando, take us back to that beginning in 1990. What was the landscape like here in Barbados? And what inspired you to take that leap and start QPS?
When QPS started, tech in the local business environment was still in its infancy. Many companies had massive beige and grid desktop computers on their desk, but didn't really know what to do with them beyond the very basics. Yes, systems were there, but they were not always well understood or properly supported. People were still adjusting to the idea that computers would become part of the everyday operations of companies. At that time, there wasn't much structure around how technology was being used in businesses. A lot of it was trial and error, and that's really what I stepped into. My inspiration to start QPS did not happen in a single moment, but was more of a gradual realization as I watched the trends in the very industry where I worked as a sales representative. I kept seeing the same patterns: businesses investing in technology but not getting the full value from it. This created a gap between the tools and actually using them properly. At the time, I felt that this gap needed to be addressed, and I was going to make that attempt. So, in reality, QPS started as a way to help organizations not just purchase systems, but actually make them work in a reliable and consistent way.
Starting anything major is usually quite a nerve wracking experience. What was it like for you taking such a big step and starting your own business?
It was a few years of uncertainty. I had left the certainty of gainful employment, and like most entrepreneurs, you suddenly become aware and very aware of your other responsibilities: rent, family, bills, etc. And none of these things go on pause. Yet at the same time, I had a strong belief that there was a need for what I was trying to build and was determined to construct a viable solution. I wouldn't say I felt fearless. It was more a sense of, this makes sense. So I'll take the step and deal with whatever comes next.
Do you remember your first clients?
Yes, and those early clients are very important to any business. Truth is, until someone actually trusts you and pays you, it's still just an idea. Those early relationships confirm that the need was real, and more importantly, they helped shape how we worked. Every client taught us something about what organizations actually need in practice, not just in theory.
What was the specific problem or gap in the market you were trying to solve in those early days?
At the core, it was inconsistency. People were investing in systems but not always seeing the results they expected. There was a massive gap between expectation and reality. Businesses wanted better results from their systems, but they didn't always have the structure or support to make that happen. And there wasn't always a structured way to close the gap. QPS was really about helping organizations get from, we have the system, to, the system actually works for us. As a matter of fact, the problem wasn't just technology, it was how technology was being used, maintained, and understood. That's where QPS found its niche on the IT landscape in Barbados, helping to bridge that gap.
What did people misunderstand about technology back then?
In those early years, information technology was sold as the next big wave, much like AI is being sold today. Therefore, lots of users thought technology itself would solve problems. Truth is, technology doesn't fix anything on its own. It's more like a magnifier. It improves strong processes, but it brutally exposes weak ones. So, very early on, we learned that success wasn't about technology, it was about how well everything around the technology was structured that enabled systems that worked.
You've said before that the company stayed ahead of the market. Where did that thinking come from?
That came from exposure. We made a point to pay attention to what was happening internationally. We attended trade shows, we observed trends, and we made sure to understand where things were heading within the industry. Not everything we saw was relevant immediately, but it helped us to understand the direction of the industry. So when change eventually arrived in Barbados and regionally, we were already prepared for them.
When you look back at the person who started QPS, what would stand out most today?
I think he would probably be surprised at how much has changed and yet how much has stayed the same. The technology is completely different, but the underlying need, helping organizations build systems that they can rely on, is still exactly the same. That continuity is probably the most interesting part of the journey. It's one of the pillars on which QPS was built.
When you think about it now, what does QPS really represent? I am sure you have these thoughts when you reflect.
At its simplest and its core, QPS represents consistency in the sense that from inception we determined that we would only deploy systems that work, even when conditions were not ideal. That has been the thread through everything that we've done in the past 36 years. And it's still the same thread that runs through our systems today.
Technology will always evolve, but as we've seen today, the fundamental need for systems you can rely on never changes. Over the past 36 years, the journey of QPS has been defined by that very pursuit of consistency, learning what works, navigating the shifts, and helping organizations build structures that stand the test of time. We believe the lessons we've gathered since 1990 shouldn't be kept in a vacuum. Whether you are navigating your own digital transition, looking to understand past successes, or simply want to discuss where the landscape is heading next, we welcome the conversation. You can connect directly with Belnando by dropping an email to belnandoweeks@gmail.com. Thank you for tuning into this segment, and we'll see you in the next episode. We build systems that work.